Yeah, friends, I wrote on Facebook yesterday that Indians are the world's worst book lovers. The reason was that I found to my horror it was exceedingly difficult to get a copy of EPG's classic, The Wildlife of India. Even the National Digital Library of India doesn't list this book. Again, I found to my frustration during my searches. Believe it or not, Flipkart takes him to be a brand of Desi ghee. It says EPG is not available with us, but you could try Amul Shuddh ghee. It is our eternal shame that this book is not in print. When I was young, which was quite some time ago, my hero was Jim Corbett and his exploits. The wildlife then meant to be hunted and killed, even though that was not the message of the great author. Also, my knowledge of the Indian wildlife was confined to elephant, lion, tiger, and leopard. I remember we used to discuss excitedly about the legendary 18-foot long Vengai, must be some sort of a cheetah, which was supposed to have lived in the vicinity of Kalakkad Hills and terrorized the local population during my grandfather's and great-grandfather's time. My visits to zoos were hurried affairs, and emaciated animals in cages never induced curiosity in me. All these changed when I happened to come across the wildlife of India. It was for the first time that I found a book that covered the entire India and its wildlife treasure. In fact, I remember what attracted me most was a photograph of the wild asses of Run of Kutch. Used to docile domestic asses, I found the very idea that asses could be wild very exciting. Of course, many years afterwards, I learned that G had, written a scholarly article for the Cambridge University. In his own words, let me quote him. This is what he says. I tried to photograph one of those solitary ones by remaining hidden in a thorny thicket while others of the party tried to drive the animal towards me. Several attempts ended in dismal failure, for the animal each time cleverly made off in another direction. Inevitably, I had a feeling that I was the ass and that the wild animal I was trying to capture on film was an alert and astute creature. When he counted the asses in 1962, their number was 870. Today, the population should be around 4,500. The book has an important foreword by Jawaharlal Nehru. Coincidentally, the book appeared in the year he died. Nehru says in his foreword that the animals would not think much of us either, and we could be considered by them much more dangerous than they could ever hope to be. He also says more sanctuaries should be the answer, and our agricultural practices should aim at intense cultivation rather than ever expanding cultivation. G says in his book that at the turn of the 20th century, India had about 40,000 tigers, which dwindled to about 10% of this number in the 60s. It even plunged further to around 1400, and now I think it is around 3000. In fact, my love for Northeast started after reading a chapter in this book. I think it's called rhino of Kasiranga, Gir Forest, Kana Sanctuary, Periyar Lakes, they all became my dream destinations during those days. Around 97 or 98, when I visited Jatinga, where birds were seen to plunge to earth in an apparent attempt of suicide, I remembered that it was EPG who first spoke about this phenomenon. In fact, he was a tea planter settled in Assam, but he later became a conservationist. In fact, he was among the famous trio of conservationists of that time, the other two being Salim Ali and M. Krishnan. In fact, it was he who is credited with the discovery of golden langur. In around, I think, 1953, he went to a place called Jamdwar, which is in Assam, with his team, and recorded many sightings of this elusive species, little known even to the local people. It later came to be called as G's golden langur or Persipidis G. Now, let me read a passage from his book, his encounter with a rhino. We had not gone more than 100 yards when there was a noise nearby, and with a panicky rhino coming. Both my men, who were aged about 20, disappeared down the tract, seemingly breaking all Olympic records. At their age, I could have run faster. But I knew that a rhino can soon catch up with the fastest of humans. However, I also started to try and escape. After about 10 yards, I did the best possible thing I could have done. I slipped and fell down flat on my face with the rhino very close at hand. I knew that an Indian rhino, unlike a wild elephant, will not continue to attack a fallen victim, and I quickly rolled sideways off the track into the grass and remained perfectly still. The rhino thundered past. The author also says, I quote, "The armchair reader living in a city may perhaps be invited to reflect that a tiger has a right to live, and that to do so it must kill some live animal about twice a week. That wild herbivorous animals in the forest have become scarce, so a tiger will come out and kill domestic stock anyway." This was true then, and this is true even now. I would request our youngsters to visit local libraries and search for this book. Maybe you would be lucky and you would get to read a wonderful book. I assure you, you will not be disappointed. Okay, until I come out with my next book, goodbye and thank you very much.